Welcome to the Stay Human podcast. I am here today, coming at you live from the Norwegian crew line, the Pearl. The boat is rocking, and today's show is being sponsored by Dramamine. And our very special guest today, please give it up for Mr. Pat Monahan from Train. So Pat, what we like to do on this podcast is talk about how people got started doing what they're doing. And, did you grow up in a musical household? Was it like a wild house full of
I grew up in
fun?
Erie, Pennsylvania. What are your rules about cursing?
As many as you can get out in as short a time as possible.
That's fucking awesome. So I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I was the last of 7 kids. And my dad always bragged about being a drummer, and none of us ever heard him play drums ever. And then my siblings were all older than me, so they didn't do music, but they loved music. It was really a survival technique. There was comedy, music, and alcohol. Those were the things that we needed.
Sounds just like this boat.
Yeah, that's why we do this, Chris. But so when I was 5 years old, I came home from kindergarten, and my dad, he had a glass of probably really expensive bourbon, $3 to $4 a bottle, and he saw me come in and he goes, "Hey, come here. I want you to keep a beat to this." And it was a Dave Brubeck song called Take 5.
Oh, God.
And it goes boom, dun, dun, dun. Oh no, that's Hit the Road Jack. Yeah. It goes, so it goes doom da 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 doom 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 da 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 doom 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 da da doom 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 da. So I was like, okay. And he didn't really expect that I was going to be able to do that. And he's like, "Get out of here!" And then I was like, man, maybe I can keep a beat. That's pretty cool. And then later, I was in 8th grade. My next memorable musical moment was I was on my way to basketball practice, and a Michael Jackson song came on, and everybody started singing it. And then everybody started looking at me like, what? Because I actually was singing it the way it was, maybe it was supposed to be.
Do you remember what song it was?
It might have been like... 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. And then they all stopped singing and listened to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's bad." So we went to basketball practice. I was still the worst kid on the team, and that was kind of the beginning. So then I played drums, and my all the singers were too afraid to sing in front of girls, so I eventually had to do it.
Okay. Well. It worked. So when you were in 8th grade, I mean, you were saying you're like the worst kid on the basketball team, and you could sing. What was the hardest part of being that kid, of being, the weird kid on the basketball team?
I didn't say anything about being weird, man. I wanted to be...
Well, I have videos, actually, from that time. We can all decide if he was.
Yeah. That's mean, man. I wanted to be a professional football player or basketball player or baseball player. That's all I cared about was sports. Yeah. And then it became clear early on that was not going to be... Yeah. So then someone said, "Hey, man, maybe you should try beer pong." And I was like, I'm pretty good at that shit. Yeah. So, music was the obvious way to go.
Yeah. So then at what point did you get into it? Like, did you start doing school performances, or did you start a band right away, or pick up an instrument besides the drums? Or
I was going to an all-boys Catholic school. Mm-hmm. And what did I... That's a weird thing to get excited about. And it wasn't the kind of nurturing that a musician needed, unless you were in band, which was awesome. Like, band was not my thing because I felt like I was a little island, you know. I was not a trained musician. I played drums, but it was like, hey, you know anybody who plays guitar kind of thing. So I met a couple of kids in this school. It's called Cathedral Prep. And after 2 years of that, I begged my parents to let me go to a public school. And so they were like, all right, as long as you don't get kicked out. And that was way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. It seemed easy when I said okay, but then it was the right environment. You know, they had talent shows where I sang Led Zeppelin songs, and this is a true story. I was a junior and I sang rock and roll, and then seniors came out and lip synced to "School's Out" by Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And they won.
Oh man.
They lip synced and won.
Oh my God.
Boo. And you know what? It was some good ass lip syncing. They deserved that trophy.
They must have nailed it, man.
They nailed it.
Would they come out as the Village People doing it, like
They didn't even dress the part.
Oh
it was
my God.
Anyway. But that was the beginning of it. Then I was like, man, maybe I should go to college. So I went to this pre-college class and I did well. And they were like, welcome to the University of. They heard the door slam because I was like, I gotta go, man. I'm not here for that. But I moved to L.A. and I met the guys.
How old were you at that point?
I was 19. I was 20. I moved to Los Angeles at 20. I met the guys in Train. They were actually in a band called The Apostles. And the story with The Apostles...
They were the band that actually made it out of the Catholic boys' school. The Apostles.
Yeah. Well, it was like, wait, you guys are The Apostles? I went to Cathedral Prep. This shit is going to work. But there was a weird thing at the time. They were getting kind of blackballed. There was the vibe that was happening that no one wanted to. They didn't want them to play shows. Or they were like, we need to get out of LA and dismember. And so we created Train in San Francisco.
How were they getting blackballed? I want to backtrack. How were they getting kicked out of LA? They like the whole city. You can't be here anymore.
Yeah, it was weird, man.
That's kind of fucked up.
If you knew a couple of them, you would be like, that makes a lot of sense, man. But that's not my story to tell. But it was definitely a thing that was happening where they were like, people didn't want that, and so I was like, I do because you're my only shot.
Yeah.
And so we started to write music together, and we were in San Francisco, which is really the perfect place because there were so many venues. It meant a lot to be able to play somewhere. It wasn't about money. I painted houses all day, I had a baby at the time. Like it was not easy. I would drive to San Francisco, get on scaffold, paint houses all day, go home, take a shower, drive back to San Francisco from Petaluma, California. And then I would sing for free, and then I would go home and do this whole rap over and over again.
At that time in your head, were you thinking like, oh, I want to be in a successful band? Or was it just something you did that you loved doing? Or were you super driven?
I would, I'm not a religious guy, but I've always prayed to whoever would listen. And man, I would cross that Golden Gate Bridge 2 times a day going, you gotta let something happen good for me, man.
Yeah.
Like somebody's gotta be looking out for me at some point. Please, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Right.
And it took a while.
Yeah.
I mean, then we were using the Counting Crows practice facility, and they let us do that for free, which was super kind of them. And we got better and better. And there was a guy who saw us from Columbia Records, and he was like, not an A&R guy. He worked in the marketing department, so he was like, "Just you gotta come to New York. We're gonna pay for the trip. We're gonna give you a record deal. It's a done deal." But we flew to New York. We did a show, and the boss said that wasn't special. And so we flew back to San Francisco. I was mortified. My parents were waiting for me at my house to congratulate me, and they couldn't do that. And the next day we went and did Laguna Seca, and I was out of hope. We did Laguna Seca days, and I was basically out of hope. And I saw this guy perform, and he looked at me with love, and that was you. And you made me think. You made me think maybe there's still a chance. And you never met me before, and you gave me like this beautiful, like, awesome, cool guy handshake hug thing that I can't do. And that meant more to me than you'll ever know. I've mentioned it many times, but it was a very, very big moment for me.
So I just want to ask, like, so your parents, during this whole time when you're coming up, were they like, go for it, Pat, we believe in you, or was there like still resistance, or were you like hiding it from them, or what was the relationship like with your family and music?
There was never resistance. I remember the first time I mentioned music to my mom, I think I was 10, and I said, Mom, I think I know what I want to do. I want to be in a band. And she said, okay, but you're never going to get any sleep. I was like, that's some weird shit to say to a 10-year-old. And then when I was 30, I was like, she's a visionary. She can read minds. But it was, yeah, she was right.
Yeah. So
never any resistance. They were, honestly, my mom was my biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
And and then she passed away actually when I was 30. And I dreamed that one day she would come back. And she didn't, but she sent me my wife, who is my biggest fan. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. At what point did you guys get married? How did you meet your wife?
I had a very complex life. I had 2 kids and a broken marriage that I left, and it was like I can't. You're not supposed to be this sad. Nobody's happy, and I want my kids to see me be happy. I want to teach them that dreams can come true, and then the last thing I wanted was like, I'm not doing that again, right? And so I went to Seattle and I met this girl, and I was like, oh shit. And I said, man, I think she's really special.
Yeah.
But she was engaged to be married.
Wow.
And don't even. And
on this week's episode of The Bachelor.
And I said, I was just in this kind of thing, and I would love to, if you give me 3 days, we could maybe figure out if we're supposed to be together. Wow. What I didn't know is that she was trying on wedding dresses that day, crying because she knew it wasn't right.
Wow.
And so she gave me 3 days.
Yeah.
And I gave her. Well, I mean, I hope this is a good life. I'm hoping that it is.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So then she went to her fiance and was like, "Look, I met the dude from Train. He's got an awesome pink jacket, and I'm trying on a white dress. How is this gonna work?"
It's interesting because this is the part that you find a lot out about a person, and that's exactly what happened. She went home and said, "I can't do this," because and instead of like dragging it out for 2 months, and it was just like, "You're wrong. I love you.
Yeah.
What a great guy you are, but I'm not supposed to be with you."
Wow.
And so that's the story is more complex, of course, but that's the gist of it. And
so at that point, were you like, yes? Or were you like, holy shit, I better not fuck this up?
Well, it was a little bit of everything, because when I met her family, I was like, I said, these people are the greatest people in the world or the craziest people I've ever met. Because her father was telling me the story and said that his best friend was his father-in-law. And I was like, that is some weird shit, man. And it was true. And now he is my best friend, so I get it.
wow.
Yeah, it
That's
makes a lot of sense.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is she here? Is she out here?
Is my wife here?
Yeah.
Man, she's not gonna raise her hand, man.
Yeah,
She
she
doesn't.
should. She should raise her hand. Oh, well, mate. She's up there?
That's like
Nice.
that's somebody else's wife.
Okay.
I don't know that woman.
You've got 3 days, all right?
Hey, man, you said you weren't gonna be funnier than me.
So what's the hardest part? Like, in a relationship, being a musician, what is the hardest part of it?
What's the hardest part for her being
For,
with me?
for you, both you guys, what's the hardest part of keeping
Well,
it
you know,
together?
it's funny because I've learned a lot about myself and who you want to be through somebody who loves you, right?
Yeah.
And I criticize myself a lot, or less and less. But it's interesting. Her perspective is like when you put yourself down, you put my husband down. You put the guy that I chose down.
Wow.
So don't make me look bad, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a cool. It's like
That's
you're
good.
a bad dude.
Yeah,
You know, you're allowed to get down, but don't put yourself down.
yeah.
And that's hard for me. Like that's a very Monahan thing to do. Is like, you're right, I suck. And that's she's like, no man, they're not right.
Yeah.
You got it where you're supposed to have it.
Nice.
So that's the hardest part of being with me is you gotta love me through it.
Yeah. And what about being a dad?
What's that?
What about being a dad?
Being a dad?
Yeah,
Easiest thing I ever did.
yeah. I guess, you know what-
you know
you know-
why it is because I go ask your mother.
You know, the hardest thing for me about being a musician is being away from the people that I love,
Yeah.
and both, you know, my wife, my kids, but also just friendships. You know, it's hard. Like, you know, I have these friendships that are like my best friend who I see every 6 months. You know,
Yeah.
The guys in my band, of course, become super close. But how do you manage that? You know, just being a transient, touring,
Well, you know,
traveler.
when you and I started, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. You know, it was a different world.
Postcards,
So. What's that?
telegraph. I started when there was telegraph. You know.
I used to send smoke signals up to my kids. Dad says that he is one. But now there's so much. There's so many ways to stay connected that we don't sweat it.
Yeah.
And of course we miss each other. And I'm about to go do 3 weeks on Broadway, and so I'm hoping that they'll have a chance to leave school for a minute and come and visit me and stuff like that. But you just got to figure it out, man, because that's who we are.
What's the show?
It's called Rocktopia,
Nice.
and what it does is it's classical music. So there'll be a classical band in the pit, and then it meshes into classic rock music. So. And then they're going to add Drops of Jupiter to the list. So there's the classical song Jupiter will intro into bam bam bam. So
Nice.
they do that with Led Zeppelin songs, and so they thought maybe I would be a good candidate for that.
Super cool. Is it something you've always wanted to do? Do you like theater? Do you like stage? Or?
Yeah, I have this little dream of writing something for Broadway, but you know, that's hard, man. That's a hard thing to do.
You got some love out here, man.
I don't know, man. It's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, because I wanted to try acting, you know, and
Yeah.
I did for a minute, and it's way harder than you think.
Yeah.
Like it's like music where you have to figure out if that's what you want to do. And some
Yeah.
people, like we were talking about Childish Gambino, like some guys can act and sing and write and like be
Do comedy
comedians,
and-
and
yeah.
like I don't have one thing at a time for me.
Yeah.
Because I think really it's important for me to be a good husband and a father. And so that's a big. You got those two big things, and music, that's a lot,
Yeah.
you know. So all of a sudden being like, I think I'm going to write a play, you know, I don't think it's as easy as that.
Why do you make music?
I love money so much, man. You have. Yeah, that's a joke.
There's a lot easier ways, bro.
Yeah, there are. No, that's not true. Music.
That's why
is
he
like,
fills the whole back of this boat up with cocaine when we leave Mexico. And he writes a song about it. You know?
Yeah. Music's my only way out. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the only way you can get out of this, and it's a healing process. And then when people sing with you, it feels like maybe that's why you're here. You know, we're all trying to figure out why. You know, nobody's ever gonna find out, right? Because we're all gonna figure out when it's time to be done here. So if it feels like you have a place, you want to keep that place.
Yeah. When you write a song, do you start from the melody? Do you start from music? Do you start from an idea you have in your head?
Yeah, all of it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like Drops of Jupiter came from a dream. I woke up and just wrote the whole thing, melodies and lyrics, and sang it into a tape recorder and went and recorded it at a friend's house the next day. Wow. And like Hey Soul Sister, I wrote with a couple of Norwegian guys in New York, and we wrote it on guitar, and we were all like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. And then one of the guys was like, what about this? Gring, 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 gring. And we were oh, that's good.
How do you know?
I'm pretty good at Norwegian accents.
Norwegian, Hawaiian, ukulele playing accent is good. How do you know when a song is good? Like when you write a song, do you just go, fuck, this is fucking awesome? Does it make you cry?
No.
Does it make you get goosebumps? Or you just don't know?
I'm the opposite. Every time I like something, it's a mess. And Meet Virginia, like, what? Yeah. Who wants to put that on the radio? That's just weird. And then, and Drops of Jupiter, you know, honestly, we did the whole album, and there wasn't a single on it. Yeah. And my record company executive was like, I don't hear any singles. Yeah. The album was called Something More at the time because that song was written, and we thought we had all these hits, and we're just like so full of ourselves. And he was like, I need Pat to come to New York. So what he was going to say to me is, I'm going to put you in a room with different writers, because I never wrote outside of the band. It was very taboo. The guys were like, we don't write outside of the band, and this is, you know, a young band has rules. Yeah. And those rules sometimes can keep you from being who you want to be, you know, as a band or an artist. And but I stuck to the rules. And he was about to say, you know, let's go. You got to go work with other people. And the night before I went to New York, I wrote Drops of Jupiter, and I went to New York with this little CD that I thought was like, this is not good. And I played it for him, and he was in his room, you know, listening to it loud like this. And the bridge came. Can you imagine though? And he was like, whoa! And he just saw money, confetti money. And it was right when Almost Famous came out, so he was like, we're getting Paul Buckmaster, he's gonna write a string arrangement, this is it. And then he called me the next day, and I didn't even know he knew my name. And he was like, man, you did it. You wrote the song of the year.
Wow.
And it wasn't because Bono got that. I hate Bono. And I know you know him.
I know Bono very well.
And you can tell that mother...
I'll tell him. Monahan's coming for your ass, Bono.
No, we had this joke, like at the Grammys, we did Drops of Jupiter, and Bono's in the front with his sunglasses on, and he goes... And the joke was, hey guys, I'm gonna take the 4 big awards, and I'm gonna give you one. Thanks, Bono.
Nice. So when you were a kid, what was the most challenging thing for you, like as a teenager?
Man, we were having such a good time, Michael. Everything was so cool. Well, you know, I wasn't a very good student, and I
Did you like school, or did you just...
I didn't really like school. Wasn't a place for me. But I loved the social aspect. I loved the kids, and I just wasn't good at the whole thing. It wasn't. My wife and my children are the opposite, which is great because they like to go. It's a healthy place, and the other thing for me is we didn't have anything, so I wanted a job. That's what I wanted, because the only way I could buy gas money or buy gas or do anything, take a girl to the movies, I had to have a job. So I was washing dishes at restaurants, and I don't know if anyone's ever worked in a restaurant. There's a lot of drugs in the back of the restaurant. And so I was like, I was better at that than I was school, going to work. And we used to like go down to the cooler, put like a case of Budweiser in a garbage bag and be like, gotta take the garbage out, boss. You know, we'd throw it in the dumpster. A friend would be waiting out there, take it out of the dumpster. We were awful kids. I was better at that than school.
Yeah. So you grew up in a family with 7 kids. Was it like a hand-me-down household? Was it, you know?
Well, I was 6 years after my next sibling, so I think I was treated, you know, pretty special because I was the baby, and then I had all of my siblings to help me, you know, raise me, and humor was really a big part of our survival. Yeah, you know, like. One time, my brother, who really was a huge part of raising me, was a father figure to me. He would buy me baseball gloves and stuff, and you know, I needed that stuff. It was a big deal. He was very special to me. But then he would also do super mean, humorous shit to me. You know, he would. One time, he goes, "Hey man, Mom doesn't want you anymore." And she's
that's cold-blooded.
But he didn't even know how genius this was. My mom's in the kitchen, and I was like, "Yeah, she does." And he's like, "Go ask her." So I walk in the kitchen. "Mom, do you want me?" And my mother is a logical woman. She thinks, like, "Mom, did you call for me?" She says, "No, honey, I don't want you." My brother was like, "I'm a genius." I moved out that day.
At age 6.
But like, it was like masterful comedy. And then, you know, so then he tried other things on me, and then I'd go to school, like as a first grader, and I would say to the girl, you know, behind me, "Hey, Lori, you know that when you were a kid, you were so ugly that your mom would have to tie a pork chop around your neck so the dog would play with you." Because that's what my brother said to me. And then I'd end up in the principal's office like, "That shit's funny, man. I learned it from a pro."
Hey, we want to ask, let the audience ask a few questions. I know there's some microphones out there. And if anybody's got a question, just pop your hand up. We got a lot of questions out there. Right down here in the front row with the amazing gloves on. Right here to your left, Dave. Yeah.
Hi, Pat. First of all, I love you so much. And
I love you
as well. My friends and I were wondering, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm a little of both. I really like to be around other people and talk about stuff. Like, I always feel like when people get sick, it's because they're quiet. I think quiet people, but when I want to be alone, I really need to be alone. Like, I need to just sit and think about stuff. And but I like to talk things through because I don't want to feel bad. I want to get it out. And sometimes I talk far too much, as you noticed. But it makes me feel better, even if I make mistakes along the way. That I'm not keeping stuff in. It's not going to build up.
That's what you mean by getting sick, just that bottled up.
I feel like one of the things that when I watched my mom get sick, I felt like it had a lot to do with how she was sad about a lot of stuff, and she didn't talk to people about it. And I was like, man, there's something to that.
Is that part of your healing through music too? Is that
Maybe it's through music, but I think once again it's a lot about humor too. Because when I don't really honestly, one of the fears I have is I don't want to find out about people that are not nice people. Like, and so the best way to do that for me is to not really find out. And so when I'm meeting new people, it's all jokes. Let's just be funny so I can get out. Because I don't want to have to make a connection with you and then have expectations and then be left in the dust. Like Michael's a very rare guy in the music world. I don't have a lot of music friends. Most of my friends are comedians, honestly, because they're the same way. You know, they get through life by joking about it because otherwise it hurts so much. You know. And I don't want to expect things of you. It's not fun for you to be judged by me, and so I mostly get in and I get out. But when I do make relationships like the one I have with Michael, it feels pretty great. And I know somebody like him. I know him well enough that he's not going to hurt me. He's not going to take something from me or tell somebody something about me that would hurt me. And so that's a very rare thing.
Cool. Any other questions?
You've been pretty emotional on your shows this cruise, and I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
I think maybe the fact that we're not going to cruise next year is kind of has me a little bit stressed out about it. Not stressed out, but like sad. So, what is it? What?
They're sad too, they say.
Oh, you're sad too. I've been in a band so long that all I can hear is. But yeah, so it's like emotional for me, you know. Plus, we're doing songs for hoping that you want to hear these songs, like "You Can Finally Meet My Mom" and stuff. That those songs, they're not fun to write. Like I was driving to the airport listening to that song because we haven't done it in so long, just bawling my eyes out because it was like, oh shit, that song hurts. So that's part of it too.
You know, there's an incredible amount of family that is formed.
Yeah.
You know, around the cruise, and you know, we've toured with you guys before, and I see it. Like I go out and I talk to fans before the shows, and I don't even know if you know it, how much the fans feel a sense of family amongst themselves, but also this like deep connection to you and to your music and to the band. And I don't know. What's your relationship to that? How are you able to take that in and process that as an artist and as a person?
That's the best part of all of this. Like I know so many of you. I feel like I know most of you. Like some of you have my email address, and I'd like you to stop emailing me.
I gave it to him.
But I try to keep real relationship with people because I'm no different than you. I have 6 siblings that don't write music or sing, and I'm like, why'd I get this?
Yeah.
You know, it's a gift. It's like something that I can't really understand why I got it to have it and not somebody else. And I feel like maybe it's because I'm going to be responsible for it. I'm going to be responsible to it, and I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to respect it.
Right on. Sometimes I feel that way. I feel like, like if you're a physicist, you get like mathematics to understand the world, or if you're a scientist, you get the periodic table of elements. And I sometimes feel like I got music to try to make sense of the world and of my life. And sometimes I feel like it gets me closer to understanding who I am. And then sometimes I feel like it's a distraction and it takes me farther away from understanding who I am in the world. And how is that for you?
It's the same. It's a beautiful distraction, but it's also, it is a gift. And I think, honestly, I think the thing that maybe bonds us together is that music is what matters to us. It's not what music brings us. It's what we can contribute to music. you know, and being around you guys, that's probably why I'm emotional. Is like, I don't want to let you guys down. Like that's a hard thing for me to do. I don't want to let you down. But I need a break from this is a lot of work, and I want to refocus on a couple things, and maybe we'll do a party on land next year instead. I have this cool idea that I'm going to have my birthday next February, and I want to charge you guys to come to my party. And it's an expensive ass party.
So this is the Stay Human podcast, and you know, I wrote this album called Stay Human in 2000, and I've just finished a film that's called Stay Human. And what the film is about is, you know, there's times when I feel like, man, I've made music because I try to give back something positive to the world, and I see the world is going through a lot, especially these days. The world's going through a lot of pain, and I had hoped that in some way my music could be just, you know, little drops under this tree that could help to maybe like do some positive for somebody at some point. And there's times when I feel like, man, the world is such a shit show. What did I fucking do? Like, you know, did I do anything? You know, and then I meet people along the way who inspire me and who remind me what it means to be human and how to hold on to my humanity and my dignity and my sense of connection to everything and everyone else in the world. And I'm wondering, how do you do that? What is it that helps you to stay human?
Well, you really helped me with that. I actually, a long time ago, you might not remember this, or maybe you do, which would be a bummer for me. But you and I, we befriended one another, and you wanted me to do something for you when Bush was in office. And you were like, hey man, can you come together and do this thing? And at the time, I was really not interested in being in that world. I think I was too young to understand, or too naive. And I know other people that are not willing to be political, but I'm not that way anymore. Mm-hmm. And you really helped me, along with my friend George Lopez, that is very polarized as well. Like, he's very okay with talking about politics. Mm-hmm. And I just don't do it because I don't trust any politician, honestly, so it's hard for me to bash one when I don't really believe in another.
Yeah.
But now that Obama's gone, I go like, man, that guy was pretty special, right? And so I'm more willing to be vocal. Mm-hmm. I'm more willing to not unsolicitedly give you my opinion, but if you want to know what I think, I'll tell you. Right. And also, I think the main thing is, because I don't trust politics, but I do trust children, mm-hmm. We try to support a great charity in San Francisco to Stay Human, which is also not just giving them money, but going there, visiting, and sometimes not ever seeing the same child twice. Sometimes for the worst reasons and sometimes for the best because they get to go home. And so Family House is our charity. It's what we do in San Francisco, and it's what keeps me human.
Right on. Do we have any other questions out here?
You're on your left, guys.
Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm from Atlanta.
Hey,
This is my
Ashley.
first cruise.
Right on.
Thank you. I was just wondering, so Call Me Sir kind of has like a hip-hop feel to it. So I'm wondering, like, what inspires you to write new music? Like, who inspires you? What sounds?
You know who's inspiring me right now, and it's making my wife crazy? J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. I'm walking around the house going, I want to fold clothes for you. I want to make you feel good. And she's like, I don't really want you to do that. And then we were going to learn it and play it on the boat. And she said, can you just sing that to me at the house? And she's right, because most everybody would be like, what is this? I don't know this song. But it's just like, it's very inspiring because these two guys are so special. I mean, they're crazy
Yeah.
talented. I couldn't believe it when I started listening to them, how special they are. And it was very inspiring. And then when I was writing, I did not write that for any particular reason. I wrote it because I was like, let's have some fun. I wrote it with a good friend of mine. And I sent it to my manager. I was like, man, this song's fun, right? And they were like, oh, boy, that's more than fun. And so we've been, then they were like, we were going to wait on a greatest hits, but this kind of song we think could really help us maybe, get it out there and put a greatest hits record out. And I've always been opposed to a greatest hits, as I was telling you, because there's a bad word in the music world to me, which is heritage band. And that means that your time of being relevant is over. And thinking about a greatest hits makes it so that you're on the road to being irrelevant. However, it's a new world where streaming is so big that kids that want to hear a certain song from somebody, it's easier if they just see all your top songs on a playlist, which is a greatest hits, basically. So I said, okay, let's do that. So it made a lot of sense to me. Instead of, hey, you're on the way out, why don't we put a greatest hits record out?
Right on. Any other questions out here? What's up for 2018 and 19?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
We'll
But since
make
it's
some
just
shit up
you and
then,
me,
man.
Michael.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to Broadway. We're gonna go out with Hall & Oates this summer, which is really cool. If you don't have tickets, you might want to try it because we're gonna play an hour, they're gonna play an hour, and then we're gonna do a half hour together. And I think it would be a really cool thing.
Wow.
And then next year, I think we might go out with the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It sounds like a fun time.
That's awesome. So what keeps you going? Like all these years, it's like what gets you up in the morning and makes you feel like, fuck, I want to go do another tour with the Goo Goo Dolls or with Hall & Oates or do a Broadway musical.
Man, I never thought of it. You just kind of talked me out of all this. I got to come to my senses. Well, I have these desires. I'm not looking to have more possessions, but I'm looking to when we make music, it comes from nothing.
Yeah.
So to think that it's out there somewhere and all you have to do is get it, it's a matter of work. You need to work towards it, and if you do enough work, then you can reach up sometimes and it'll come to you. And so I just want to be in the room at the time when the song shows up. And if I just do the work enough, it's going to come. That's why I just feel like it's going to come.
What's more exciting for you when you first write the song and you finish it and you get it out and you go, damn, that's all right? Or is it like playing it for the first time for an audience? Or do you like either of those things?
Man, there are actually three stages. When you write a song that you're like, wow, I like that song. Yeah. That's so cool. And then the second phase would be like if your family or your managers, and then they're like, wow, I like that song too. Mm-hmm. And then instead of playing it in front of people, if it's on the radio or somewhere out there and people are responding to it, that's when you're like, wow, that's a cool thing. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard Michael's Spearhead record, Super Chocolate Highway. This is one of the coolest albums I've ever had in my life, and I still listen to it all the time. It's so cool, man. One of the things I didn't ask you on my podcast before I quit this racket was you changed so much. You evolved into who you are now, but the evolution is very big. What happened that you went from that period to this period? What was the thing, or what were the many things that now this is who you are?
When I first started in music, I was just an angry kid. I grew up in this very unique household where I didn't feel like I belonged. My birth mother's Irish, German, and Belgian. My birth father's African American and Nottoway Indian. And I was adopted by the Franti family, who were white. They were from second generation from Finland. They had 3 kids of their own, and they adopted myself and another African-American son. I have one sister who's a lesbian and one brother who's a police officer, and I just grew up in this mixed house, and I didn't feel like I fit in. So music for me was a way to sort of get through it all. But when I first started in music, I was just like this angry kid, and I started this punk rock band called the Beatniks, and we were on the Dead Kennedys record label, Alternative Tentacles, and it was just like, just getting this angry voice out just because I didn't know any other way to express what I was feeling inside. And then as I went along in music, I started to realize that, like, for example, there was an organization that invited me to come and play in a prison, and went and played in this prison, and I sang these angry songs, and these guys were like, yo, man, like, we're down. We understand how fucking pissed you off you are. But we're in prison. And we want to hear a song about how much we miss our girlfriend, how much it hurts to be away from our family on Thanksgiving, or just songs that make us forget about what's going on out there. And so I started to write songs from a different place and started to use melody, because at first I was just rhyming, and then I picked up a guitar one day and I learned a couple of chords, and this is 15 years into making records, and I started to write songs from a different place and realized that the more of myself that I put into it, rather than pointing a finger out at everything that was happening in the world, the more that I looked inside and was able to put out, the more that it touched people in a way that meant something to them, that lived on beyond just...
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you going?
See, this is what I'm talking about, because I would have said it like, I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
Right, I'm the
You were the
early
young
Michael
See,
Franti.
this is the perfect example, right?
That's a cool story, man.
Yeah.
You're right. The more you talk about yourself,
Yeah.
the more healing it is too, right?
Yeah, the more healing it is, yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more questions out here. Go for it.
Pat, I love you so much, but I have to say, Michael, please, would you run for president?
I feel like I've been running from the president. I think I couldn't imagine anything worse than having to get millions of dollars together to try to prove that you were better than this other person and get all these people to like you, only to have a job that was a desk job. I can't imagine anything worse than that. But I feel like there's a way that all of us have to support what I can consider to be the greater good in the world, which is kindness, acceptance of differences between people, and that those things are bigger than left or right or Republican and Democrat, and that there's something that's bigger than that. And it's sometimes hard to see, especially right now with the politics that we have in our country. But I really believe that there's something through music that we can give that is, in some ways, bigger than that and more important than just legislation.
I will say, though, it would be pretty dope for all of us to see the president give a speech like,
"How you feeling?"
Here's the way it's gonna go. This is what.
Maybe if there was a special office like Commander of the Beat. I can handle that part. Any other questions? Toss the mic.
Thanks. Pat, you mentioned that you felt music was your gift and you felt blessed to have that gift. But I'm curious to know how much of that really was a gift versus a lot of hard work and persistence and not giving up on your part.
It's a compromise of all of it. Really, it's. I had nowhere else to go, man. If something didn't spark, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what it would have ended up. And a guy like me needs to have no options. And maybe that's the way humans work, where if you have options, you usually take them. But like my drummer, Drew Scholes, he graduated college and he came and he did the tour with us on my Last of Seven solo run. And he's such a gifted drummer, but he's so smart that after about a year, and I had a different tour manager at that time that thought he knew everything, that I think my drummer, Drew, was like, I got to go to law school because this tour manager guy's making me crazy. And so he went to law school, became a lawyer. He was practicing law for 2 years, and when I needed him, I was like, Drew, what are the chances? And he was like, man, I've been waiting for this call since I started working at this bullshit law job. And so, you never know what the avenue is for you. He's such a hardworking guy that he took a different road because he had those options, but he knows what's in his heart. I was not the kind of student that could have gotten.
Is there
to
something else you could do, like say it all stopped now for whatever reason? Is there some other profession that you think you could jump into that would interest you?
I think I could open up a restaurant and figure out how to make that work because I get it, and my brain works kind of like a chef's brain, where it's mostly you just drink all day. Hold on, you smoke a little weed too. I'm just kidding. So my brain works like I want to constantly be I don't want to have downtime, and I would rather be a professional golfer, but I don't think you can be when you shoot 20 over most times. Those are my two passions, though.
Right on. Is there somebody in your life who has inspired you? Like, was there like a believer in you when you needed it? Like when you were like really down, or when you were really feeling like, what am I going to do? Was there one person in your life that ever came to you and was like?
Well, honestly, besides my mother, I remember my wife and I, before she was my wife, before Hey Soul Sister was out, I was maybe this close to being broke, bankrupt, done, and I would say to her almost every morning, don't get used to the house because we're probably going to have to sell it. Like, don't go in there. That room is forbade. But it was because it was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And because I was just trying to write songs for the radio, and I forgot how to write for humans, for myself. And when I wrote Hey Soul Sister, that was the last song that I thought would ever be on the radio. Mm-hmm. And
what was the story behind it? What was?
I wrote a song because her family, they go to Burning Man. And I've never been to Burning Man, and I was like, I want to go, but I can only go in my mind, so I'm going to write a song about people dancing at Burning Man, and so it was about that.
Wow.
And then when the song came out, not enough people knew Burning Man, so I just made some other pretentious shit up.
All right, I think we got time for one last question out here.
I was curious how, with the changes in the band, if you still ended up where you thought you would when you started.
I'm sorry, with what?
With your band changing and how the feedback has come over the years, has that changed like the trajectory of your goals or your dreams?
It's interesting because I've been sick a couple times on this cruise. Like I lost my voice one time, and look, it's not a secret that there have been enormous changes in the band from the beginning to now, and I was so scared every step of the way, and I could tell you in such detail why the people that are in my life musically are where they are, and why the people that are not a part of my life musically are not. But that's not really my story to tell because everyone has a perspective. But I do know that I wanted so badly to be happy, and for you guys to be okay with that. Like, how can I be happy and want to keep doing this and have you guys support that. That's very, very hard to do because nobody likes change and everybody wants things to be pretend perfect. But really, it was either going to be I get happy and surround myself with people that are wonderful people and great musicians, or I stop. Those were the two options. And I had to take a chance on you guys because I had to take a chance on me.
Do you feel like you got there, like you're on your way that you are hoping to be?
I feel like I've never been happier. I feel like Michael, you and I, we're almost 30 now.
Yeah. Well, speak for yourself, man.
And we have to feel like our best days are yet to come, right?
Yeah.
We have to feel like that because if we don't, then that's no good for you. You don't want me to give up on any chance of making anything good, And Call Me Sir was like, hey, I'm just writing this song because that's not the kind of record I want to write. I want to write like this acoustic, go back to school, like that kind of record. And that's what I'll do next. But I have to also write for fun because it's music is supposed to be fun, and you can hear the difference. Trust me, like you'll hear the difference. And so I feel like you guys are loving me through this stuff, and it's so big. That's why I'm emotional too. Like you guys, I don't know. It's like that weird lady that won an Oscar that one year, and she was like, "You really love me," and I'm never gonna say that because it's super weird, but it really feels like you really love me, and so I really appreciate that.
Well, do you? All right. Well, thank you very much for being here today on the Stay Human podcast with Pat Monahan. Make some noise!
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
I love you guys too.